learning from my mom, what she basically showed me what a mother was like, what a mother would do. And so she was very much a overprotective, kind of a worrywart, always overly concerned about our welfare. So I grew up with a sister and a brother as well. And so that became a part of who I was. And I thought that's the way it is to be a mother. So of course, forward, 10, 15 years, and I'm having kids now. And guess what I was doing? The same thing. So I would take on, for example, my mom would get my clothes all ready. I wouldn't be able to pick my clothes. She would do my hair. Like everything was decided for me. So I really never got to do any of the picking and choosing.
For how long?
And so for how long?
Yeah. Like how old were you?
Oh, up into my teens.
And this wasn't by choice? Like you didn't have a choice? She insisted? What happened if you contested or protested?
Well, funny enough, I never really questioned it. That's how entrenched it was. I was actually thinking, this is the way it is. My mom's picking out things. And I remember I would be like going crazy for like, maybe it was grade 9 or something. And I didn't have time to do my hair. And I remember she would be like, let me take over. And, like here I am in literal, I just started high school and she was still very involved in my preparations to get out into school. So this was so entrenched that I had no idea.
Wow. The context that I'm comparing your context to is that, like, I complained about getting peanut butter and jelly sandwiches a couple days in a row in kindergarten, and I got a list put on the back of a cupboard, and I packed my lunch ever since. Like my mom, like wow. she made the meals, like she made home baked goods. She told me, what I could have, basically, but I had to choose for myself. The idea of having someone like pick out your clothes wasn't even a consideration specifically. Although I got put into Northern Getaway clothes, like jogging pants and little like cat like dancing and little mice like having parties on your shirt and stuff, and I did not wish for that. So my context, I guess, is similar in that like I didn't get to choose the clothes that I received and had to wear, I suppose. But like to actually choose what I put on, that was totally my choice. And like the comparative with the lunch is like just a soft spot that is just like, it made me stronger, but damn it, I hated it. Okay, keep going.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, it just like when I think back at it, like now, I just can't believe how I didn't see it. I didn't see it for what it was.
Right.
It was just like it was probably because it was done from, as far as I can think, like back when I was maybe able to comprehend, maybe 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
That's how it was for me. So I never knew different. So anyways, I don't want to put a bad light on my mom. She was actually, incredible caregiver, and like I know her heart was in the right spot.
Mine too.
But I do, yeah. I hate to make it sound like she's how dare she? No, but she was coming from what she knew best, because this is a generational thing. So she learned from her mother and so forth. So yeah, so I just I realized that again I was taking that into my own family, and I noticed I was doing the same thing. Now I didn't notice then. Now I'm talking after, now that I've looked at it. Right. But I was doing the same thing with my 3 girls, and so what ended up happening is, I started really questioning life due to different circumstances. So I started this inner journey, and it started to reveal these things that I was doing and what I had kind of attached myself to, which were these generational belief systems of how things should be, what a mother should be, and so forth. So then I started to really I got excited because it was like, oh my God, there's another world. There's other possibilities here.
Right. I don't
And
have to do it
so,
all?
yeah, I don't have to do it all. And wait a minute. And if they do it, that means they're going to become independent, strong women.
Wow. Yeah. Win, 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 win.
Win-win. So yeah, so then I started to reevaluate things and started to give more responsibility to the girls, and little by little, because they were also questioning, because they were seeing a mom who was doing this certain thing, like everything was laid out and picked, and so when I started to kind of give them more responsibility, they started to question, like, what happened to our other mom? Where'd she
Yeah.
go?
So how old were they then?
So I think that they might have been, believe it or not, late teens by this point.
Okay. Wow.
Which is very late on. So they've already got their set things in place, because I've obviously. So there was a huge adjustment, and this is where there was a big challenge for me, because I kind of took it and I implemented the change almost immediately.
Okay.
So they didn't have like a gradual unfolding of this. Was like, this is what's going to happen.
You cut the shoe. You cut the tandem jump. Whoa. Okay. Yeah.
I did. So yeah, so there was definitely a challenge with them, because they thought I had kind of lost my mind, and not that they weren't aware of my journey, because I'm very communicative, so they knew that I was, asking certain questions about life, and I made sure that they were involved in it. But so I had some challenges with them, and to the point where there was a lot of major breakdowns.
Oh yeah.
Because what I ended up doing was, talk about going from one extreme to another, is there was this tug inside of me, this urging inside of me to really cut the ties, because it was like, by this point I have two now that are in their early 20s, and one that was just almost going to be 20. So I realized that they were old enough. I had set a foundation for them. I felt very confident. And I realized that what I needed to do, and I was being called to do, was actually, my husband and I decided, because we were on this journey and we realized what was important. We wanted to simplify life. We feel like we've got a message. We want to be contributors through these transitional times. And so we decided we wanted to sell everything off. So we sold our home. We sold pretty much everything. Put what we had as a few little things into a storage. We got our kids up in a condo, living together, and we decided to actually go to Costa Rica. So we did a major life change. Again, by this point, I was actually more in tune with my intuition. I was listening to the things that were coming up inside of me, and that was a major urging of what I needed to do. And so if you can imagine going from being a kind of maybe overbearing mother in a way, very protective, to I'm cutting the cord, you guys are going out on your own, and it happening so quickly that there was a huge kind of breakdown just before we left to Costa Rica, because it was truly like jumping off of like a bungee jump. Really, it was, because it was like, wow, I'm doing something that has never been done in my family. And I'm talking about my immediate family, aunts, uncles. I don't know of anyone who has stepped out of that box.
Wow.
So I was here on my own with no support. And I felt at times I was losing my mind.
Wow. Yeah, that's what happens.
But so there was a big breakdown with my girls, and I had a couple of times where I was actually, really questioning. I was, asking source energy and God. I was saying, you know, I have my faith in this. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm listening, and I'm going to go with it, even though I was kind of tormenting on the inside, whether I was making the right decision. So, long story short, we went to Costa Rica. The girls are fine. They're more than fine, because what ended up happening is that they've learned so much in such a short period of
Oh
time.
yeah.
I'm so proud of all three of them. They've taken on their lives very powerfully. They always have a pretty good attitude, a positive attitude. They've reached out numbers of times, and we've had great talks. I'm always there for them no matter what.
That's awesome.
But what I've seen flourish is who they've become.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I've really felt like this is one of the messages I want to be bringing out to the world, because I am a mother of three, and I've gone through this, and I see the incredible rewards of it. And so, to any woman who's got children and is feeling like they're in a bit of a dilemma in regards to, what's aligned with your truth and what you're feeling urged to do, and maybe it feels like it's not something that's common, or it's in the, it's potentially stepping out of that box and you're feeling fearful. It's so normal to feel, but it is so worth the inquiry and the, just going for it. And this is why I'm so happy to be doing this with Laura, because I feel like to create a community where we can have people come together and feel supported, because I'm all for creating a new future.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't realize that our self-limiting beliefs, all the different programming and the conditioning and these things that are carried generation from generations,
Yeah.
it limits our ability to experience life and really see what's outside of that box. And having experienced it the last 5 years and seeing what's come out of it,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for it. So that's what I feel compelled to share, and also help others or assist others who are in the same boat and are thinking of the same thing. And, really being a support system for anyone who's potentially in the same boat or wanting to take that on.
That's amazing. Yeah, like you really took on the transformation of your self-image and decided to be who you came here to be, despite the obligations that you're committed to, because you became a mother and responsible for others. You saw the need to still live your life with your husband, because together, if you are full, then together you fuel the children, and they're okay if you're okay. But if you're not okay, they're not okay. And often, if they're not okay, you're not okay as the parents. So, we have a very symbiotic relationship when we're connected to our family. And even when we're not, there's still energetic ties that we need to really be mindful of. And when you were talking about the cutting of the cords, I wanted to say there's a really useful exercise I just want to offer anyone that may be listening that may feel like you're corded into a past experience or a not now moment that's stealing your power, which I'd really love to actually get into the different perspectives of our feeling states. So I don't know whether that it feels like where you want to ride the wave to, but I really feel like, based on my own experience of riding my own waves of emotions and experiencing the very differing personalities and desires of my loving self compared to my unloving, rejected self, and the part of me that's just Mother of Rage, which is like part of the Right Use of Will series that I'm on book 8 out of 8 now. Finally, it's like, oh my God, thousands of pages, but it's great information. But you know what? It's just like, it's taking you time to like work through it, and it's taking you on a journey. But the Right Use of Will and the Mother of Rage, it's like the perspective is totally different. And I was just going to share about calling on Archangel Michael. If you've got cords of negativity binding you to a not now moment, you can literally call on Archangel Michael to come in with his blazing blue sword to cut through the cord that binds you to the not now moment, which could also be a man or woman too. And then what you do too, after Archangel Michael's blazing blue sword comes through the cord, you then use Archangel Gabriel and get him to actually heal both ends of the cord with an emerald green energy, so that both sides are left healed and whole, without then suddenly being like a vacuous open cord that's like just now been cut and severed. Now it's like healed. So that's a good way to energetically sever your ties to a not now without creating a very it's not overt, because now you've already done the healing work. It's kind of like forgiveness. So it's a forgiveness exercise that I just wanted to offer anybody that may be facing a situation. You can just take yourself through that process of just seeing that. There's more processes we can do around all of that another time, because forgiveness is a huge part of all of this. But I wanted to actually touch on, you said about being fine, and then you changed it. So it's like, they're not just fine. And then you clarified. And I love that you did that. Because have you ever heard the acronym Fed Up, which actually has a couple extra letters that we're not sharing here for children's ears purposes? But Fed Up, insecure, negative or neurotic, and emotional as being what fine stands for. Because it's like, when we say we're fine, generally speaking, it really means we do not want to talk about it. It's a closed matter. So just move on. I'm fine. Right? Is it not right?
Yeah. So true.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that, because bringing in these different perspectives of emotions into theoretical insights grounds it in a way that we just need to really merge the 4 quarters of the cycles and the like the cross. We're at the center point. Like, we're the center point. It just needs to move over a little, so it's in the heart instead of over to the side, because that's where we're misaligned, which is, I could say a whole lot more about that, but I want to throw it back over to you, Katia.
So yeah, I guess you're right. There's like I guess, so there's two sides. We have these two worlds that live simultaneously in our every moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like in the middle. We get to choose from these two worlds. One's like a destroyer world, and one's like a creator world. And I guess I can describe that in a way, what I was experiencing with the girls in that transition was this still kind of fresh, new, what was new to me, to be taking these types of measures and saying, I'm going to be taking these steps, and I'm actually going to be doing them and not just saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was scary for me to take that plunge, like just to take that on, because still in the background was this thing about wanting to be a good mother.
Oh,
and
the context.
Still, like, it's a context, and it's like, what defines good mother? And like I said, I watched my mom and my grandmother and my aunts, and saw what looked like a good mother in that view that I was looking at. And so that kind of still played in the background. So when my children started to like question and kind of challenge me, all that I could see is I'm a horrible mother.
Mhm.
So I was being challenged by that so immensely that I saw the destroyer side come
Mm.
out of me, and I never saw that side of me actually, because I for years suppressed that because the context I grew up with was
Mhm.
I needed to be a good girl.
Right.
So I put on the act,
Yeah.
showed up, had to, look like everything was good on the outside, and you don't share anything that's going on other than, just showing up and putting on the face. And so I had suppressed that side of me for so many years. And then here I am faced with this huge like transformation and transition in my life. And I was having difficulty digesting how that was going to, pan out. And I was, of course, hoping that my kids were going to be like, yes, mom, we love you for that. We are all
Oh,
behind you. And
right. Yeah,
it did
that'd be
not go
nice.
that way. It did
Oh,
not go that
no.
way. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a bit challenging. So to have gone through that, even though there were times where I literally felt like I was questioning. This looks more like I'm breaking up my family and not like, seeing what I could see of the future. So there was this challenge of back and forth. So I was pulled into this, let's call it the destroyer side,
Yeah.
because I was still, I guess, coming from a place of fear in this uncertainty of not knowing what my future was going to look like and how it was going to unfold. Because I was actually, stepping into more of a spontaneous life versus a planned, you know, um, day by day. It
Yeah.
was like, no, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna just ride the wave and be, kind of just be at the mercy of the source, and be kind of shown the way. So to give up and let go at that degree,
Yeah.
as I'm letting go of my own kids, was probably the one of the greatest choices and decisions I've ever made. And
Yeah.
like I said, looking now back at it, it's probably the best decision I've ever made, and that's for everyone's case, because I can see that stepping into my power has changed how I take on life, and I can see now how my relationships have improved immensely, because I used to be someone that didn't really communicate powerfully. I would
Mm.
hold back because I was
Mhm.
afraid to overshadow or make someone feel bad, or so these are those little things that keep creeping up from the
Mhm.
contexts that I came from. And what I've realized since making these decisions and stepping into my power, um, I've had the best conversations with my parents I've ever had in my life, where I felt even the context I had with them was they're not going to get me, they're not going to understand me. And yet I've had some incredible conversation where I was shocked actually to see how they responded.
Mhm.
And you know how it is too, is like when you build up that thing, let's say you're scared to have a conversation,
Mm.
and you play out the worst case scenario in a way, you're like, oh God, it could go like this, or it's going to might go like this. And you're so fearful. And then when you do it, you go, holy shit, it was easier than I thought.
Right?
It always kind of feels like that. So it's like I've taken on even just like going into conversation with nothing in the space and just letting it, you know, go where it goes. And
Yeah.
so much has come out of, stepping out of that comfort zone and stepping out of that box. It's opened up so many possibilities, and it has truly elevated my relationships, because again, I've found that, I found my voice in this as well. And I found that I can stand for what I stand for and not
Mm.
be worried about how anyone feels. And it's just like, stand in the truth, stand in what matters. So yeah, I just wanted to share that in case anyone is, these last 2 years have been crazy. And so there's a lot of this, I guess, questioning right now about what does the future look like. It looks a bit uncertain. What do we do? And it's like kind of clear a slate, clear the table and start fresh, and take this opportunity to create a possibility. I'd say create one possibility and take it on, and it will open up a brand new world.
Absolutely. And additionally, if you're able to come in on the call tomorrow at 2 p.m., I know, Katia, you're already engaged at that time, so you won't be able to join us. But Dan the Christian Man is going to be our featured expert, and Ethan Lucas in a uncommon conversation of a higher caliber, which is going to be about breaking down the alphabet, where you have a hyphen between the alpha and the bet to say, which alpha are you betting on? And to say that ultimately we are the ones that actually get to choose what to do with the dash between when we got sent here and when we leave here. And so all of these conversations seem, well, they're just fun for us because we live and breathe this stuff. But it's uncommon, and not everyone wants to breathe the breathing particles of this conversation because of how it activates them. So as much as some of your relationships improve, did all of your relationships improve?
No. It's been a half and half situation because I mean, it might be for my parents, it's a bit different because they have obviously a different listening for me. But there are other members of my family who definitely are more fearful to hear about this type of talk where, you know, I'm stepping out of the comfort zone and I'm presenting new ideas and I'm presenting about what other possibilities exist. And some people are just locked right into that comfort. And so, yeah, I've been challenged in some ways with other relationships where there is a closed down kind of listening, and they've actually said, we don't want to hear what you have to say. So,
Yeah.
you know, everyone has that opportunity to choose. And all I can do is, you know, I always offer, you know, to contribute where I can, no matter where.
Mm-hmm.
And I just know that everyone has their time, you know, and how they're taking on their lives. And
Yeah.
what I feel like I can kind of say I am in a way is like a seed sower. So I'll say something or I drop a little nugget,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that they may not get it today, but something might germinate inside of them that over time
Yeah.
it might just show up and reveal itself. So that's kind of how I take it on.
I love it. And we actually met because Angela Argentina had both of us as guests on the same podcast or the same Kevin J. Johnson show. And so
That's
you
right.
were being interviewed about your microgreens business. And then I came on to talk about spiritual stuff and and the law and whatever it was. I said yes. And so we showed up, and then it was just like, you're interesting, seed lady. And so now it's just like you say about planting seeds, and it's just like, yeah, like you absolutely are a planter of seeds, and that's what we are all doing and need to continue doing. And that's why, like, the summit tomorrow is going to happen, and why we did the Breaking Down Bullying Summit last week and the Mind Control Programming and Propaganda Summit, because like we need to have places where we can come together and say, okay, we've been deceived, and we don't need to lose any more sleep over it. We don't need to get stuck in the anger and all of that. We just need to actually hold space for one another to work through the emotions that are showing up so they don't stay stuck within us and create dis-ease and disharmony within the cells of our body. Because like we are, oh my God, Katia. Okay, so self-image. Have you ever broke the word down to self, I, mage for the magician? A mage is a magician. Self-image is the I mage of how I choose to be in this world. Jesus is je suis, without the I. So we idolize him instead of looking within. The HYMN instead of the HIM that we think that it is because the book says so. But what if it was symbolic? And we were meant to follow the signs, symbols, and omens because he said this too others will do and more. Greater things will others do than what you have been able to see me do. And he left, and we're here. So many are waiting for a savior to come back when I feel like it's a bit of a joke that Jesus is one eye shy of je suis in French as the I am when he said, I am the way. What if the words themselves for the I mage of the one that chooses to say, I have come to be it for me and ye, and for us to be whole and complete in and of ourselves as we are in this moment. My God, I am so grateful.
Same with me.
I am so grateful. You up-level my thinking so much. What? Sorry?
I just love that you broke it down like that too, because I'd never heard of Jesus je suis, like you just pointed out, which is brilliant because hello, like it means I am, which is like the two most incredible words, and I've never heard it broken down like that. So thank you for sharing that, because that to me is like, it's got to be a symbol of, for sure, about how what choice we have to take on to be the one. We all have that opportunity, and it's in our awareness, can we get that for ourselves? And it's, I want to just talk a little bit about the Matrix, because Neo is on this journey and quest himself, and it's like we're all like Neo in a way, where we're being called to remember, what and who we really are. And then there's that pinnacle point where he's talking with the Oracle, and what does the Oracle point out? No coincidence, is the I think one of the most important ancient maxims inscribed on the wall of the temple of Apollo in Delphi, and it's know thyself. It's a very pivotal point in the movie because they're hinting to that self-knowledge is the key. It's the key to discovering, are you the one? You can answer, are you the one? And there's this amazing quote that comes out of it as well, and it says, heed these words. Those who wish to probe the depths of nature, if you do not find within yourself that which you seek, neither will you find it outside. If you ignore the wonders of your own house, how do you expect to find other wonders? In you is hidden the treasure of treasures. Know thyself, and you will know the universe and gods. That quote, when I heard it, gave me chills, and it still does, because there's something so profound to it in regards to this hint or no hint, but that it all starts within each and every one of us, because literally the outside world is a reflection of our inside world.
Yeah.
So everything that we see outside, between the relationships we have, to the systems that we're using, to literally everything that we're engaged with, is showing up, telling us something about ourselves. And it's kind of like an inquiry we can use to really figure out who it is that we are. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, it reminds me of that, the big question that we're all kind of underway with is, are you the one?
Yes.
So I felt like that was a good little.
I love that. And earlier we were talking, I get so excited, Katia. Were you finished?
Yeah.
I am. Earlier when we spoke before tonight's conversation, we were talking about signs, symbols, and omens, and how that is the language of the universe, which Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist, says the very same thing, which if you haven't read The Alchemist, please go and find The Alchemist and read it, because you will go through it, and basically you won't be able to get to the next page until you're ready to be on that part of the adventure in your own life. And the reason that I mention that right now is because I don't know if I've ever actually heard anyone talk about Delphi personally, which may sound mind blowing for you since you're familiar with it. But to me, it's new, except that in the Right Use of Will series, in the 8th book, I'm about to actually read about how the Priestess of Delphi was tortured and killed because she would not rescind her self-awareness or her knowledge. And so I haven't got to that part in the book yet, but it's been alluded to in the previous 7 books that I've read so far, because my lawman swears by them, and like it's been a journey. Like relationships have almost not survived chapters of this series, like because you go on the adventure with it, and like expansion and growth happen, and it's just completely, it's been transformative for me. Cianda Rohan's Right Use of Will series, absolutely phenomenal. Highly recommend. And so I just mention it because it's changed my life to be going on that journey. And then you mentioned Delphi, and one of the chapters in the 8th book is about the Priestess of Delphi. So sign, symbols, omens, we're on the right track.
For sure. Absolutely. And it's not like, I just don't believe it. Like when we say coincidence, it's all magical in my opinion, because it's like the more that I've discovered in, going into this inquiry of myself, this discovery, and each time I'm leveling deeper and deeper, it seems it opens up this realm of synchronicity and things that are just matching up so much easier, where before it would be like, nothing's kind of connecting because I was so confused. I wasn't clear on who I was.
Misalignment. It's like if you're over a little bit, then like you don't have the direct connection. You're misaligned.
It's so true. It is just exactly like that once you align in this truth flow, it's like miracles unfold. And like I said, I've been experiencing various little synchronicities, between relationships, who pops into my life. If I've asked a question, it'll appear through some sort of like video. I'll get an answer. So it's like there is something so magical, and it's just a matter of identifying those things that are kind of in the way, which we've discussed, which are these potentially boxes of language, these belief systems, these ideas, generational choices that literally, kind of like create a filter in this flow that don't allow the magic to actually come. So, it almost comes down to like we didn't get a manual when we were born. I always ask, like, where's that manual that we could refer to,
right?
Even for parenting. But anyways, so it's just like going back to the self knowledge discovery. It is a journey of like healing and transcendence, where I always thought it was like you're looking for what you are, but it's almost like you need to peel back the layers of what you're not as you're going through this discovery. You're saying, oh no, that's not who I am, that doesn't fit, and that's not me. And as we do that, more and more of our authenticity is revealed. And when we talk about whole and complete, is that it's like you're piecing together who you actually are, and the possibility of our powers and what we can do as a co-creator are endless when we do tap into that authenticity and the integrity of who we are. yeah, it just there's so much that I've learned, and so much that I'm still in awe of in this journey.
In this matrix where Matrix, if she is toxic and polluted and corrupted the way that the scared feminine is, and the masculine too, and so we really have to shift out of being scared into sacred and see that it uses the same letters in a different order. And so then we are reordering our priorities because, as John Maxwell and others say, I don't know whether he originated it, but because then it's just like in my head, it's just like he did a thing at a conference where he's just like, the first time I hear it, you quote the person. The second time you hear it, it's just like, somebody said. And then the third time you hear it, it's just like, I was thinking. So it's just like, who the hell knows who actually originated any of these quotes? But I lost my train of thought when I got distracted by did John actually quote it? And he's got so many quotes, I can't just be like, well, this is the most familiar one. It must have been the train of thought that I was trying to get down. I forgot what I was saying. Did you have something you wanted to jump in with?
So what I was just gonna maybe add is that if we talk about the self-knowledge journey and discovery, and how it relates to integrity and authenticity. So integrity is basically, it's defined as being whole, complete, and undivided. So as it relates to our truth of who we are, so we can only know instinctively what's authentic to us. So in realizing whole, complete, and undivided, when we've become more whole, what will translate is that our relationships and anything that's outside of us will automatically start to become more whole and complete. So I even call this new era that we're moving into a call to integrity, which is all is one and one is all. We're really returning to oneness.
The Three Musketeers.
So it's like I get excited because I've been someone who's, since I've become awakened to what's going on, and I'm such an advocate when it comes to like things that don't work for everyone, because I have this thing about wanting to be things to be inclusive. And so when I see the systems that are at play right now, and by the way, most are starting to break down because we are moving from an old paradigm into a new paradigm. So it's only natural. We're going to start to see, and we have seen, that the systems that are, dictating society right now are all being tested huge, and they're being exposed for their dysfunction purposely, because they will not work moving forward. We're moving into a new era of consciousness, a new era of care for humanity, stewardship. So these systems that have been by the corporations, for the corporations, benefiting the corporations, I would say are on their last legs. So right now there's this little, call it like a final showdown.
A corporation doesn't have legs. I'm sorry. That's why they can't stand. They can only status and then use our legs in order to actually have any movement whatsoever. I apologize.
Got it.
Carry on.
No, you needed to say that. Thank you for bringing that to the conversation. Absolutely. So yeah, what we're witnessing right now is really a transition in consciousness, and this is what it would look like. It would look like a bit of chaos. It would look like uncertainty, just like a baby who's coming into this world. The baby goes through such a turmoil because it's almost a life and death situation. So that's what we're experiencing right now, and it's just to take a deep breath and take on that this is a transformation happening at an individual level, a collective level, and a systemic level. So The good news is that this is a transition period, and the other good news is that if we really invest in ourselves and take on for ourselves what it looks like to elevate, I guess, our consciousness and our lives by, really settling in and asking questions like, who and what really am I?
Mm-hmm.
How do I operate? How do I function?
Mm-hmm.
And really ask the question of, what am I here for? There's something, we're all here for a purpose, and there's something that we're here to contribute, and more than one potentially. And so if we just start to get into these types of inquiries, it will reveal itself as this transition is happening, and potentially it will allow for this visualization of more possibilities for each and every person. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that this is the transition period that we're going through, and one of the things that I'm going to be speaking into definitely is how we can become a sovereign country, sovereign individual as well. Like, we've relied so much, for example, on corporations and government for support. We don't have to think twice going to the grocery store. You have food in the grocery store, but anything can happen, especially now where it's a kind of turbulent period. And it really should be a period of time where we're looking at how we can sustain ourselves. What can we do to, take our power into our own hands?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm an advocate for food sovereignty, food security, and food integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be putting out a video shortly in regards to the importance of that, and what I've been able to develop with my husband, because we started to take power into our own hands as well. And we just discovered a food system that we've had great success with, and we would love to share with other Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in the process of finalizing the logistics of that because of COVID and so forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to just bring about that anyone can create a solution and contribute to their communities. And that's what this is about, is really coming together as a community and as a people, remembering that we are all in this together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we win this together or we lose this together. But if we throw each other under the bus while we're in it together, we still have to, be with those same people when they get up from having repaired, from having their broken bones and bruised hearts and egos and all the rest, and face them. And we are in the final minute of our hour together this evening. So it has been an epic call once again. I want to remind everyone that tomorrow at 2:00 we're having an incredible call. I can't wait to be on. And Katia, I did want to actually, just before we go, you said a few things in terms of statuses and slips of the vernacular, including person. Including is a trick word actually in legalese. That's a one-sided agreement, where Aboriginal, for instance, has Indian, Métis, and Inuit underneath of those headings, but anything promised to each of those which were transferred under what's included under the term or status of ab, no longer original. Aboriginal is ultimately not included or off or brought with the status that was then consumed or assumed by the corpse, which is the corporate entity. And so we just really need to get very clear that there's an interface for corpses, which are dead entities, to interact with living beings. And there is a great deception that has made us think that we are our person, because when we get together, we say it's in person. And then we think that that has more validity than something online, when in fact, our virtual reality accounts, such as my Zoom account or the Facebook account or the YouTube account, however it is you're receiving this message, that account you have and the account that I have and the account that Katia has to be able to Zoom into this meeting, those are personages, essentially. So your person is the equivalent of this online interface, which is the internet, to drop the connection between our interconnection. If we actually come into common spaces where we can have differing opinions and yet also stay centered in the fact that as not just humans, which is an aspect of a man, which is manifestation, and a woman being the will of manifestation, of the man infestation, if you look at it from the Mr. Smith or the Smith agent perspective in the Matrix that sees us as ants. And going back to what you were saying, I know Barbara Gustafson, who's a John Maxwell team member, she talks about ants in some of her memes, which she calls automatic negative thoughts. And I thought that that was just a really powerful offering to be able to clump something under a heading and say, is this an ant that is serving me? Is this part of a colony that I want to come home to? Because if not, then I need to change the home that I have inside of myself, which is how we increase our sense of inner security so that we stop feeling insecure and instead can feel inner security whole and complete in and of ourselves. So we can be, like Bruce Lipton talks about in The Honeymoon Effect, a noble gas partner that is whole and complete in and of ourselves. Therefore, seeking noble counterparts to be able to shine brightly with in this world and hopefully change someone's life or evening, even in the moment, if you even just experience a shift. Your feelings are the interpretations of the energies in motion. And each of the emotions that you let sit on the soul throne of your inner kingdom have a completely different perspective based on which floor of the high rise of emotional awareness they spend the majority of their time. So we're going to get into more of the emotionality of things, the emotion all I tie my identity to, just as the authority is the author I tie my identity to. We're going to get into all of that in a later summit. I say huge thank you, Katia, for being an amazing co-host as always.
Thank you, Laura. It was a pleasure, and I'm so excited to be part of, getting into conversations like this that matter, that talk to what the possibility of human being is, our potential, the power that we have inside of us. And I love the fact that you did just remind me greatly about these two worlds of status and stand. And I think that the trick is just to keep in mind how many times we catch ourselves identifying with ourselves as something like mother, all these various little identities, where if we really look at our lives and look at what's important to us, and we use that as the thing we stand on, like I'm a stand for integrity and authenticity and responsibility and union. And if we associate ourselves with the stand, we can transform this world, I think, in a quantum leap time. So thank you for bringing that forward again in the importance of status and stand. I think that's something we can definitely take on with further conversation in the future.
I love that. And so I want to just end on a final note that ties to what Katia just said, just to get you thinking, because if you're not thinking, you're regurgitating someone else's thoughts. So feel into this one too. Don't just keep it up here. Let it drop down here. And ask yourself, in the court of law, which currently is a pirate ship that carries a box of flags to be able to put up the one they think they can best overtake the oncoming vessel with, if we look at it from a perspective of maybe things are not the way that we thought that they were before we started to go down the rabbit holes that helped us see differently, then we have to ask ourselves, why is it that we take this stand in the court of law, but a man or woman has no standing? in the court of law. Why is that? You cannot take the stand if you have standing, because you don't need to stand on their platform to understand, which ties into the use of another status that's very controversial. And I don't fully believe that it is the highest status that we can take or the highest standing. And I really want to work out this one, because until we do, then we're going to be divided, and it's sovereignty. Because so far as my eye can see, sovereignty or souverain is sue, under, ver, right, reign. That's rulership. So under whose rulership are we, the sovereign? It is of the greatest and highest, him, HYMN, in this universe, the one song that we are all singing. So sovereignty is a status, and you got to have your own army if you are going to be sovereign, and you got to have your own currency. So you got to be self-sufficient. And so I want to understand how that is the highest standing status, when the highest standing you can have, so far as what I'm aware, is being a man or woman in our private capacity with all rights reserved. So I just want to put in that add-on, because it is really important. And if we don't know what we stand on, then we may be standing on a landmine or an emotional mine that's going to blow up and knock us off our center. So our alignment's over here when we need to bring it back. And that's literally something that I was working on, or I had an energy session that I was told I had gotten jolted so much in a past life that my soul was out of alignment. It was over to the side. It was misaligned. So now it's bringing it back. And soul realignment is a program certification I got trained in years ago. And now it's time to be bringing that back online. So I wonder what else you'll find in your toolbox of armor. The armor of God. Neil Sperling did that video that he posted yesterday. We watched and we were going to talk about, but we talked about so many other things that we're going to have to talk about the armor of God another time, or else extend these into longer sessions. But at the same time, you can either fire hose people or you can leave them wanting more. So that's what we're going to do for tonight. Have a good one, everyone. Thank you so much, Katia, for being amazing and doing this with me. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate you as well. Thanks, everyone.
Peace.
Peace.
Okay. We have stopped streaming over on Facebook and now YouTube. I will say to you, thank you, and please do give this a like and share it with a friend, and come out tomorrow at 2 so you can be in view with Dan the Christian Man and Ethan James. I mean Ethan Lucas. Ethan James is my nephew. That's the end. I just wanted to sing and say toodaloo for today.